Hello and a warm welcome to the TNC Podcast. My voice sounds cheery. I'm sure it won't become the end of this hour-long episode. Chris,
Hello.
How's things?
Yeah, okay. Aside from Norwich City Football Club, which coincidentally we run a podcast about.
Sometimes I wish we'd picked a different subject, like gardening or cookery.
Probably cricket, knowing you.
Cricket would have been, well, at least the ups and downs wouldn't have been so severe.
Let's not go there.
How are you?
I'm good, yeah.
You sure?
Yeah, are you?
I'm okay.
Good.
Why are we wearing blue? Are we converting to automatic promotion topping Ipswich Town Football Club?
No, we're not, Jack.
Okay.
We're not wearing blue and white because we're changing allegiances to our rivals. We're wearing blue and white, Jack, to support Mind Norfolk and Waveney's big campaign for World Mental Health Day, which is called Do Blue, where they're encouraging businesses and people to wear blue to raise awareness of mental health. And it's obviously such an important issue, Jack. A few stats for you on this. 1 in 4 people experience at least one mental health diagnosable problem. Up to 84% of people will experience a mental health problem at some point in their lifetime.
80? How many percent?
84%.
Wow.
1 in 7 people in Norfolk live with depression or anxiety. 1 in 7. 1 in 3 GP visits are associated with a mental health issue. So, wanted to make this clear at the top of the show. We're so proud to be wearing blue and white for this podcast to support Do Blue for Mind Norfolk and Waveney, because mental health is such a huge issue that we all need to rally around and try and combat as best as we can.
Yeah, I think, those stats are alarming, but in a weird way, quite comforting, because I feel often with, mental health, it feels incredibly isolating. But actually, all of us are going to go through it at some point, and hopefully there's always a way out. And thankfully with Norfolk and Waveney Mind, if anyone watching this is feeling a bit down, their information is in the description of this video, and as with all of our videos on social media, reach out to them. They're there to help you.
Absolutely, Jack. I'm seeing more people than ever before talk about it on social media, that in terms of they're going through something and they're feeling a certain way. Just reiterate your words, Jack. Please, 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 don't give up. Fight it, as Leon McKenzie says. Talk to someone, reach out to a friend, a family member, reach out to people. And if you do need professional support, please don't feel like it's a bad thing. It's completely normal to need help with mental health now. Go and contact Mind and they'll support you as best as you can. And particularly for blokes, right? I want to, obviously everyone has it, but, obviously a lot of our audience, Jack, are blokes that are football fans. And lads, you don't need to be this, this alpha male, untouchable guy. We all have struggles, have problems. I'm sure you won't mind me saying, Jack, just the other week, you came to me and you went, God, you know what, Chris, I'm really down about X. And I was like, it's okay, mate, and I comforted you, and I do the same back to you, whether it, on all sorts of issues, whether it's personal things, family issues, social media, it could be absolutely anything. So look, blokes especially, please, 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 talk to someone and talk to Norfolk and Waveney Mind.
And I think the key thing here is, don't wait until it's got to crisis point.
Oh, 100%. Be proactive.
Be proactive. And same goes with your physical health, but we're all guilty of it. We go, oh, it's all right, I can fight through it. And actually, if you nip it in the bud quickly, these things don't progress. Norfolk and Waveney Mind, they're there for you. Links in the description. You can either use their website stuff or the phone numbers on there as well. Reach out. They are there to help you, so use it.
Please,
okay?
please.
And for those of you listening instead of on the video, at least you don't have to look at us in blue and white.
Yeah,
You've just got the key info. Well, the team in blue and white down the road are doing well. Let's talk about the team in yellow and green.
Yes.
A really bad week, Chris. I think for the first time this season, I'm going to need you to uplift me, because I'm really down about Norwich City at the moment.
Oh, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to, Jack. I mean, briefly touch upon Swansea. A real disappointing loss, because I felt that they were there for the taking. I didn't think Swansea were anything special. Yes, they did a job on us. Yes, they got the 3 points, but just another championship side that were there for the taking. That's what makes this current patch of form so frustrating, Jack, that we're falling to sides that we should be getting points from. And actually, I know that Coventry will move on to Coventry soon as well. I know that Coventry had the better of the chances. I feel like Coventry will feel quite unfortunate not to get all 3 points. But again, I thought they were monumentally average. What does that make us? I know what you're all thinking. Shit is the answer. But yeah, I'm so flattened by this run of form, Jack, and we'll move forwards in a bit, but I'm just so worried about those next 3 games, which we are going to speak about at the end of this podcast. But yeah, I thought it was disappointing. But you went to Coventry, didn't you?
I was at Coventry.
What were your main reflections?
Look, I think on paper, if you're looking at the season as a whole and this game, you go, okay, 1-1 away to Coventry, not too bad. You know, point away from home, try and win the majority of your home games, you'll be in a fairly decent position. Looking at the table, Norwich City is 7th. Equally, we are... What are we? 11 points from the top 2.
Mm-hmm.
And we are 6 points from 19th. So, you know, we're far closer to the bottom than we are top. I think the Coventry performance, Chris, was... Look, Swansea was... I thought we had a good 40-minute chunk in that game where we were the better side and we created chances and we were proactive, and I thought we were slightly unfortunate to lose that one. Walked away from Coventry feeling like we'd lost it. I thought the performance was utterly dismal.
Really?
There was no energy. The tactics were negative. I just looked at the team. I looked at the team sheet first of all. Dropped Dimmy, dropped Forshaw. Don't know if it's fitness related or whatever. I thought they were our 2 best players.
Did we get an answer on that?
Not that I've seen.
I haven't seen it either.
It's the front 4, and I know we've got injuries, but putting Johnny Rowe aside, because he's been brilliant this season.
By the way, again,
a big goal,
brilliant,
and actually like carrying us through games at the moment, and that's
absolutely
really pleasing. The other 3, Adam Ida, Puemozoa Boheta, Liam Gibbs, all I'm sure decent blokes and clearly trying their hardest, just very average, and I don't want to keep beating around the bush with this. Boheta's not good enough for this league. I'm done.
Okay.
I don't think Gibbs is a attacking midfielder.
Okay.
I think there is a player in there, but he's not an attacking midfielder. And I'm getting really close to not giving up, but becoming tired of Adam Ida.
Couple of things.
Yeah.
I think you need to praise Liam Gibbs. You've been one of Liam Gibbs's biggest critics, but if it wasn't for Liam Gibbs, we don't score that goal away at Coventry. It was fantastic work to win it back.
Equally, I think,
really good play
equally,
on
I think
2 occasions.
If you've got a capable number 10 in there, you create far more chances during the game.
Of course, Jack. But giving credit where credit's due,
it was a nice...
Liam Gibbs against Coventry, it was a good performance.
No, it was a good moment.
Okay, fine. My next point is Adam Ida. I'm quite disappointed with your post on social media. I think you said something like, I'm not going to support him or something. I said
I'm finding it really hard to continue being vocally active, supporting him, because it's making me look really foolish now.
I get that. I just felt it was a bit harsh.
At the end of the day, Chris, we've been incredibly supportive of Adam Ida.
I know.
And I will continue to support him. What I was saying is, I'm finding it hard to find reasons when I'm saying
fine, good.
When I'm saying back Adam Ida and people are going why?
Yeah.
I now don't have a response.
Okay, and I respect the fact that you've clarified that. Thank you, because that was I think that's probably what was misinterpreted on social media a little bit. And I think I'll say something on Adam as well. Like I'm obviously, of course, I'm going to support him. I think I posted after the game something like toothless up front and shaky at the back, and not shaky Dino shaky either. Unfortunately, he'd probably do a job, to be fair. And look, I feel for Adam because of all of the things we've said before: lack of a loan move, playing in wrong systems, all of that stuff, right? But the one that obviously there was a chance against Swansea, which you can debate all you like. I think I still do stand with the fact that he should have scored it. I'm not saying it was easy, but I am saying he still should have scored it. I think Barnes and Sargent score it. And then the one against Coventry though, Jack, scares me because I don't know how on earth he's not thrown himself at it. I can't compute it.
So for those wondering which chance, it's the cross, I think, from McCallum.
Yes.
From the left side.
Yep.
It's a delicious ball into the back post, perfectly weighted. It's, I don't know, a yard and a half from Ida, and he just leaves it. And you're right, Chris. It is concerning because
it's a confidence thing, isn't it? He is a confidence player. It's evident.
I think it's a maybe confidence thing. I just saw that and I thought it just lacked instinct.
It's worrying.
You look at the best strikers. He's kind of made the run, and it actually, being there in person, I think the highlights have actually made it look better for Adam than it was. It was a yard away from him. You chuck yourself at it. Might not go in, but you make contact and you test the keeper. And in a game where Norwich City were clearly trying to soak up a bit of pressure and they weren't looking to dominate the game, and I think Wagner said that they were actually quite happy with the way that they executed their game plan. Fine if you want to go about it that way. But if you're creating chances like that, got to take them.
I would actually... No, I agree with that. And just on that particular comment, Jack, I think David Wagner said that post-match. That concerns me. I think we do need to talk about David Wagner in this podcast.
About the game plan.
I think that we will talk about David Wagner. There's so many questions from some very, very frustrated Norwich City fans where I know that we are going to talk about David Wagner in detail, I'm sure, for the first time since last season, the back end of last season in the ilk that I'm sure we're going to talk about. But the comment post-match, I think he said, forgive me for not quoting it exactly, but it was something like, I was really happy with how he executed the game plan, as you said. That worries me because it was turgid.
It was awful.
It was turgid. We made a really good chance and scored a great goal thanks to the engine of Jack Stacey.
Again.
The willingness to make a tackle from Liam Gibbs, and of course the guy that's carrying us, Johnny Rowe. But other than that, I mean, it was a very stodgy performance, wasn't it? So for David to say, I was happy, you can't be happy. If David's happy with that, I'm really unhappy and I'm worried. I'm worried that our manager's coming out with that. I'm really worried, Jack, because that is not a performance that's good. I don't want to sound like... I'm really worried that I'm going to come across as a fan that's almost like... like fans that support, quote-unquote, bigger clubs with more history and stuff, and they go, that's not good enough for X, that's not good enough for Y. But I just genuinely feel like our standards aren't that high this season. I think most Norwich fans probably expected us to be in and around they would have loved for us to be in and around the playoffs, right? So we are where we thought we'd be. But it's just the manner in which we're just falling apart. It's like a house of fucking cards. For him to say he's happy, you can't be the manager of Norwich City and be happy with a 1-1 draw away at Coventry in a game that you could have been comfortable in. If Adam scores that chance, for example, it's curtains.
I think we're in a similar position now, Chris, to what we were under the latter stages of Dean Smith, where you can get away with it for a certain amount of time if you're winning football matches, because you can almost see past the performances.
Yeah, points.
And I think this could have been a very different feeling podcast if we had have nicked that game 1-0, because we would have gone, okay, we've got away to Coventry.
It would have felt like, sorry to interrupt you, it would have felt like the Stoke at home game where we'd gone, good, we've ground it out, good, fine. Away from home, fine. But we didn't.
But actually, we're now not picking up results, and we're also putting in some really poor performances. Now, I haven't watched the highlights package back because I didn't want to rewatch it. It may have looked exciting because there were chances for either side. Actually, all I saw was Angus Gunn, short ball into Gibson or Duffy, trying to invite this press on. Coventry were like, you have it.
Okay, yep.
You have it.
Yeah.
And Norwich didn't change their plan at all. So what was happening is Gibson and Duffy had the ball, and no word of lie would either be standing there or walking, trying to go, there's nothing on, because they're just sat in 2 backs of 4. And they let it happen, and they knew there would be a moment of madness from Norwich where there would be a chance. Actually, Coventry had 21 shots.
Really?
If we play like...
Did they?
21 shots, expected goals of 1.7. If we play like we do... If we play against Leeds like we did against Coventry, they batter us.
Mate, we will talk about Leeds and the return of Daniel Farke for sure. I think, and I think the other thing that I need to speak about, maybe it's linked to, actually no, I think it's more David Wagner. You say we didn't change the way we played. Well, when we did change the way we played, we changed our shape, didn't we? Our defensive shape. We then really opened it up for Coventry to go, well, come on then, come and attack us, boys. We didn't try to kill the game. And I think that's maybe acknowledging the fact that he doesn't have the faith that we have the attacking threat to go and kill a game at the moment. So he gets scared. This is David Wagner and his coaching staff. So they get scared. We'll bring on Danny Bart. And as soon as we did that, and that cross comes in, I think. Well, it sounds like you're on the same side of the fence as me. Then I think we're going to probably take some flack for this. I think there has, of course, been times where Gibbo's deserved criticism, constructive criticism, as always, never personal abuse. But that game against Coventry, I actually felt like he had a pretty solid performance. And one of the things that I like about Gibbo versus most other Norwich defenders I've seen is that he has the ability to see a pass that can start something. Yeah. That can start. Does that sound strange to people watching and listening? Right? It might sound strange. And I know that there'll be a football fan that's watching, listening to this going, well, it doesn't fucking matter, Chris. He scored an own goal. He's the one that's lost us the points. I'm gutted for Gibbo that happened. And it was almost instinctual for him to try and get something on it. And I just feel so disappointed for him because, again, he's going to be the guy that's going to take the flak. But actually, I would say the reason why we didn't pick up 3 points in that game wasn't. I felt like that was a harsh OG, if that makes sense. It was. It wasn't. You know, you see own goals sometimes. You think, what a donkey. It wasn't that at all. It wasn't that. It was unfortunate, and I think that if we take our chances and we create more, we win that game, regardless of that going on or not.
I think, you know, the most frustrating thing about that was, you know, it was an okay cross. There was no one behind him. I just don't think Gibson's had a shout.
I didn't think about that because I was thinking about it from a point of we invited it on, but actually, was there a shout? I don't know.
You know, we've both played Sunday League to a very poor level. If that cross is coming in and you're a defender, you're discombobulated and you don't know who's around you. You need your keeper maybe. Or your other two centre backs to go, leave it. There's nothing there. If he'd have left it, there was no pressure.
I didn't think about that.
But I think, you know, there was a lot of Coventry pressure in that game, and actually both Gibson and Duffy dealt with it quite well, and the game plan in which we were implementing put a lot of reliance on both of those. I'd hate to see how much of the ball they had. Every goal kick was going to those two. Yeah. They were trying to find passes. There was nothing from midfield. I just looked at that performance, Chris, and I thought I haven't seen improvement in a year. Really, I've seen spells of goodness. I haven't seen improvement as a team.
The start of the season, you saw improvement, massive improvement.
Yeah, but it hasn't been on a consistent enough level, and I think, you know, everyone was pelting me at the start of the season when I predicted us to finish 9th, and the reason I did that, I didn't see enough depth. It was
even
in the squad.
Worse. You said that we'd be in and around the relegation zone.
Well, at the moment, I think we might be. I think I said 9th on my video, and I think I put Ipswich in 8th. I didn't see enough depth in this squad, and I think that's starting to show. The thing that really worries me, if we want to get really down about this,
sorry everyone, this isn't a happy podcast.
I do see a situation come January.
Oh God, don't.
Where Sarah and Rowe are snapped up.
God,
I'm not saying that is going to happen.
Yeah.
But okay. How do you sell a long-term vision to Gabriel Sarah right now?
Well, look, I think going back to your comment earlier, you said this. I think you said something like it feels like it felt under Smith. I think that's a bit drastic. A bit dramatic. Sorry. I don't feel like we're there just yet. However, Norwich fans aren't stupid. They can see trends in form. They can see and hear and feel how the mood is within the supporter base, online and in the stadia. And it feels like we're at the top of a hill. And it feels like we're on that roller coaster and we're about to go down at some speed. And I hope I'm wrong. We hope we're wrong. We hope that Norwich turn it around. You look at we're now 1 win in 6. Our next 3, Daniel Farker returns. Yeah? he can do no wrong. Then you've got Middlesbrough at home, who by the way, smashed Sunderland away from home in the last game.
Have won their last 5 games.
And then we go to Sunderland away, and everyone in football knows that that's a really difficult game. And so it concerns me that we're going to get to this point where the fan base becomes toxic again. We haven't even spoken about Ben Napper, by the way, our new sporting director, which we will speak about now, I'm sure. He's got one hell of a job on his hands, hasn't he, Jack?
We'll get on to that. I just wanted to say that I'm interested you said the word feeling, and I think that's key. I was really surprised at the start of this season, considering how bad it was at the end of last season, how upbeat everyone was at the start of this season.
I've said it, the Norwich fans did their job. They got behind the team.
And I was really impressed by that. And I think performances encourage that, vice versa. They go hand in hand. I think Norwich fans have been really patient. I was at Fulham away that we lost, and there was a really upbeat atmosphere there.
Yeah.
Friends of mine that were at Plymouth said, there were some isolated incidents that were poor, but on the whole, it was fairly upbeat considering the circumstances. It wasn't like that at Fulham. Big sections of Norwich City fans unhappy with what they've seen. Some really disgusting behaviour, I must say, in that way.
Yeah, you told me Coventry, it actually turned nasty.
And that's just poor form. Like, whether we're losing or winning.
It's a worry, isn't it? Yeah.
Genuine violence. I haven't seen that at Norwich game for quite some time. So I thought that was poor. And if you were involved with that, hang your heads in shame. But I felt a turn. I felt a turn in feeling. And as you say, Leeds at home, Middlesbrough at home, Sunderland away is not a run of fixtures you want to turn this around. I'm looking at our recent form. Okay, so Leicester.
How stupid are we for saying October unbeaten, by the way?
Yeah, well,
we were absolutely
we knew that already. Leicester at home, good side. You can kind of hold your hands up and say, loss. Plymouth.
Unacceptable.
Beat Birmingham, fair enough.
Yeah.
Swansea away, Coventry away.
Yeah.
And even before that, Rotherham.
Yeah.
I look at all of our fixtures. So this season we played Hull, Southampton, QPR, Millwall, Huddersfield, Bristol City, Rotherham, Stoke, Leicester, Plymouth, Fulham, Birmingham, Swansea and Coventry. I would argue, Chris, we've played one good team so far.
And don't forget, we could have drawn against Leicester at home. Yeah, let's not discount that because they're the best side. We could have drawn against them. And also, don't forget, Jack, look at when we're playing teams. So, by the way, I'm so sorry to be so negative. It's just how I feel. The thing that concerns me even more, if I put our games under the microscope further, the form of teams when they go to play us is pretty shit. And when they play us, it's like, Norwich City, lovely old job.
Yeah.
I think Rotherham got battered the week before they played us. That's just one example, but I feel like Swansea was struggling.
Well, let me read you the form of Plymouth, who we lost 6-2. Okay, so their previous 2 games, I've lost it now. Their previous 2 games before us, they lost 2-1 to Preston, and they lost 4-1 to Bristol City.
Yeah.
They then beat us 6-2. Since then, they've drawn with Hull. They got beat by Millwall at home. And they got beat by Swansea.
Yeah, so it's
at home.
So it's not even just before; it's after. It almost just shows how much of a daft result it is.
Look,
it's frustrating, isn't it, Jack? And this is the thing. I think we're probably coming. I think we should probably talk about this now. Well, maybe we'll leave it to questions.
Just my final point here. I think we're guilty of getting carried away and getting down. I think never too up, never too down. I think the situation Norwich City find themselves in, we've just got a very average squad. We've got a very average squad, and we'll finish mid-table.
Do you know what you sort of hinted at the start of this podcast, Jack? Do you remember Farke's first season, and we had Maddison, and he was the sort of the player that sort of almost kept the season interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like this might be it with Johnny Rowe.
I think you're right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that is worrying. Really worrying that we've regressed that much. People are criticising the experienced players thing. I still think it was right to sign the experienced players. We need to sign experienced players. But the problem with signing experienced players is, of course, they can get injured if they're playing all of the time. And, of course, in terms of the medium and long term, if we don't go up, we're going to have to replace half of them, aren't we?
If we want a quick positive, Johnny Rowe, and I know
in the England under 21.
Yeah, we're sounding like a broken record once again. Chris takes the game by a scruff of the neck, provides some quality, hold my hands up, got him completely wrong. He's been brilliant.
Mate, he's, as I
Been
said,
absolutely brilliant.
and I stand by my comment on the last podcast. You know, shades of prime Huckabee, and you saw it against Coventry, Jack. His willingness to take a man should not be underestimated or undervalued. It's absolute gold. You often don't see it in football anymore as well, Jack. You know, players that have the genuine ability to take it past a player. You see it with all these big, expensive wingers that are being signed for in the Premier League now. They go for a lot of money, but really, they make a lot of good runs, but they often don't have the ability to take it past the player. That's very rare. And so Johnny Rowe should be hugely praised for that. And by the way, when that goal at Coventry, you look at where he originally picks up the ball in his own half. So impressive. Johnny Rowe is the main man and should be protected and appreciated at all costs.
Absolutely. Another player I thought had a good game actually against Coventry. To avoid this becoming just an absolute moan fest, thought Kenny McLean was really good again, and I think he's had a good season.
Yeah.
Right, let's try and find some positivity. We've been slightly down. Norwich City know who their next sporting director will be.
Yes.
He goes by the name of Ben Napper.
Correct.
He comes from Arsenal.
Yeah.
Are we excited?
I think so. I mean, we were like everyone else, Jack. We obviously saw the appointment announced on social media, relatively out of the blue. We knew it was happening, but the process has not been one that's been particularly well documented and out there and publicised. I think I'm happy with it, but I don't know a lot about him. Obviously, purely through my own research, I've obviously gone and done and looked into it. I think I feel excited. I am happy that he's a bit younger. I think it would be quite easy to recruit a more experienced individual. I say experienced, I mean like literally just age-wise. And so I actually feel like a youthful body might be quite an encouraging thing with some new ideas. He's come from obviously an extremely elite club in Arsenal, who have been on a real hockey stick in terms of their growth recently as a football club. We saw them beat Manchester City just a day or so ago, and so I think on paper it seems like a sensible recruit. What do you think?
Well, he's clearly, he's got a very impressive CV. I think clearly a very impressive skincare routine as well. Looks very young. Look, I think Napper comes in. I don't know loads about him. There's a few things that please me.
Go on.
He's, as you say, he's worked at Arsenal. He's worked in an elite environment.
Yeah.
And I think that's only ever going to be a good thing.
Agreed.
Because you're used to, through osmosis, you'll pick up processes and he'll know people and he knows structure. So that pleases me. I think he will bring new ideas. He's got a really good track record with Arsenal in terms of his time of being loans manager, and I think that will help. Look, I think at least at Norwich City now we know where we're at. We're strapped for cash, and we need to operate incredibly cleverly. Is that a word?
That'll do. That
will do. So we need to be smart with cash. We need to be good in the loan market, and we need to operate quickly and brutally. And I think Napper ticks those boxes.
Agreed. I spoke to, shout out, Chris Davison, who is a Arsenal pundit, if you will, on social media and represents lots of different organisations in the media. And I spoke to Chris, and Chris sent me a few quotes, because Norwich fans, we don't have a clue who this Napper geezer is. So he said to me, he's highly regarded, has had a number of promotions within Arsenal, very popular amongst the academy products, played a big part in loans for William Saliba, Smith Rowe and Reece Nelson, who needed to reignite their careers and develop. Kept in touch and watched them regularly. Our loan system has moved in the right direction recently, so you may well see some improvements on that front in particular. Quick pause on that. That's key. My whole life, Jack, I can name one loan where I go, cool, brilliant. Huckabee.
Danny Pacheco?
Yeah, but he didn't score enough. I love the boy, but he didn't score enough. And so, I think, as you've said, Norwich are now
Henry
at the point. Norwich haven't got a pot to piss in. We need to be better in the loan market. We've never been effective in the loan market. And do you know what actually weirdly impresses me about this geezer? he got rid of Marquinhos and put him on us. So if he can get rid of some players and put them on other clubs as well, that's encouraging.
I tell you quickly what stood out when you said reignite careers and you talked about Saliba and Smith Rowe.
Yeah. I mean, look how good they are now.
Well, there's a striker at Norwich City Football Club who's going, please pick me a good loan move. Please pick me a good loan move.
Yeah.
Adamida.
There you go. It's a big step and a whole new role for him, but I think he has the potential to be. He thinks that this has the potential to be a very smart move by Norwich. Young, but experienced, having worked with some of the best in the business for the past 13 years. So this, I actually pulled out. You won't be able to see this on camera, but there's various pictures of him and Arsene Wenger, for example, and on the trophy parade with Ramsey, with Chesney, with Theo Walcott, etc. So this guy has been in amongst winners.
Yeah, I think that's important.
I think it is important, and I actually am. Having read that and consumed that, I do feel like I'm quite excited by it.
Me too. I think we
need to move on, don't we, Jack?
We do. And I saw his name and I read a bit about it and I was impressed. I think to play devil's advocate, the pessimists amongst us would say, has never been in this position before, might be out of his depth. Is it a power thing where they've brought someone in who could potentially be a bit malleable and they feel like they could maybe control Napa? We'll wait and see.
Yep.
But again, and I don't want to keep bringing it back to this because we've discussed it when it comes to the recruitment of players. At the moment, Norwich is a tough sell. We are a mid-table championship club with no money.
I disagree with that. Okay. I think Norwich is a easy sell. We've got one of the most elite training facilities in the country. And fans will go, oh, Chris, start talking about that and the veg patch and all that. Seriously, if you speak to people within the football industry, Colney, you cannot criticise. What they've done with Colney is absolutely incredible. But Chris, so if you're a young player and you want an opportunity and you see what we've done with some of the youngsters over the recent years, we give youngsters opportunities. You get to train at one of the most elite places in the country. That shouldn't be undervalued. It's not a tough sell, Jack. It's not a tough sell.
We are comparing our training ground to what it used to be like. This is a man who's just come from Arsenal.
Okay.
And I think that actually is a good thing because he's putting something on the line here because I'm sure his progression would have continued to go upwards at Arsenal. He's going, actually, I'm swapping what could potentially be the Premier League champions in a few months' time to a club that's struggling in the Championship, and I'm willing to.
We're not struggling. We're not struggling. We're in the playoffs, Jack. We're in and around the playoffs. We're in and around the playoffs. We're not struggling yet. But I want to caveat that with, and this is what is in my head, and it's eating away at me. What's the monkey this and monkey that do? What's that phrase?
You've got a devil and an
angel. And all that. Devil and angel.
The devil's winning for me today.
And the devil says, under Smith, it was, don't worry, if you're not in the top two. We're at the top of the playoffs. Then it was, don't worry, we're still in the playoffs. Then it was, don't worry, we're only 3 points off the playoffs.
Yeah.
Then it was, don't worry, we're only 2 wins off the playoffs. And it gets worse and worse and worse.
That's what you're saying now.
No, I know. And so I'm just saying, we're not struggling yet, but we think that we end up, we will be. Jack, linked to this, and it's time for some questions from X, formerly Twitter. And what about this? We'll kick off with Stephen Waldron, who says, statement. Given the Napa news, I can't wait for Norwich to announce the free transfers of Saka and Odegaard. OTBC from across the pond.
I think one of the positives, he will have contacts, and I think there are so many Premier League clubs at the top of top Premier League clubs who are desperate to get their players out on loan to good clubs, and I think Norwich will tick a lot of those boxes. I think his contact list will be extensive. That excites me. Look, I'm certainly not down about Napa being the new Sporting. I'm very much sitting on the fence and I'm going, let's wait and see.
Absolutely.
Lee Jones, question. Why are we persevering with David Wagner? 6 wins in 22 league games is simply not good enough for a team of Norwich City's level with the players that we have. A portion of the fan base has turned, and as we know, it's always difficult to win them back. And I think, look, we have to talk about it, Chris. It was 1 win 11 at the start of last season. I think it's 1 win in 6 now.
It's an uncomfortable conversation, Jack, but it's a conversation that we have to have. And the thing that's particularly concerning is the starting lineups. Dropping Dimmy and Forshaw, in my opinion, made no sense. If you disagree, fair enough. I don't think that makes sense. Although I do think Sam McCallum was all right, to be fair.
Yeah.
And obviously Gibbs came in and created the goal. But for me, I would have absolutely stuck with Dimmy and Forshaw. So the starting lineups, the form is that, you know, facts don't care about feelings. You know, we keep saying, oh, you know, if we'd scored that chance, or oh, if the defence would be better. You know, the results are there. The form trends have happened.
Yeah.
You know, end of last season and now. And the third, and arguably the most concerning thing, is the in-game management.
Yeah.
That is what's worrying me. It's something previously that didn't worry me about David Wagner, and maybe that was just because we were getting results, but maybe I was just blind to it. But I look at what we did at Coventry and I think, oh, come on.
I think
just invite them on.
Yeah, and I think, look, if you were... So many people didn't like Dean Smith, and I get it, right? If you were against Dean Smith at that point, I don't see what's different now. We're playing negative football at the moment.
Well, we're not playing as negative. We're not
on that level. But if we're taking the last 3 games, I think we've been negative.
Yeah, in the last few games, yeah.
We're not winning football matches, and we're not performing well. And granted, part of me is holding back from criticising, because I do, and I keep saying, I do think the injuries were big, and to lose your 2 best strikers for a long time is going to be tough.
Yes.
But
Jack, to play devil's advocate, and I really, really love David Wagner as a person.
Yeah, me too.
He's absolute ray of sunshine. Such a nice bloke. Man management, night and day from Smith, night and day from Farke. You know, those boys want to play for David Wagner. But it's just, I just look at it and I'm like, oh God, and he'll know he's under pressure. And at the start of the season, we said, you know, in fact, I think you've said, like, early doors, you know, we could have a new manager.
Yeah.
He'll know he's under tremendous pressure, Jack, and this great football club shouldn't have the form it's had.
I think it's a huge 3 games coming up, because I think the next 3 games is the tipping point of either way.
Do you think? Right.
Yeah, I
okay.
think if you beat Leeds at home,
that changes things.
It changes the mindset. It changes everything.
It does. I agree.
You lose to Leeds, and you say lose to either Borough or Sunderland.
Yeah.
I think it's game over for him.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's game over.
Really?
Yeah.
So you think if we lose the next 3,
I think the
he's
next
gone?
3 defines the season.
Bloody hell!
Yeah,
really?
I do.
Seriously?
Yeah, absolutely.
Seriously?
No, honestly, because if you win a couple of those,
yeah,
you're very much in the playoff hunt.
Because they're such tough games.
And it's a mental thing, and it proves something to you.
2 home games to Leeds, Middlesbrough.
If you lose a couple of them, you're suddenly in the bottom half as opposed to the top half.
Yeah, yeah.
I do believe it, and also, let's put us into our work environments, right?
Okay.
I know you're your own boss now, so it doesn't count. But there's a new boss he's got a new boss coming in Napa.
Yeah.
He's got something to prove.
Yeah.
When new people come into places, they want to change things.
Yeah.
The first thing I think Napa does is if he sees Wagner's not performing, he goes, I'm bringing my own man in.
I don't think it'll work like that. I mean, to be fair, we're talking about hypotheticals at the moment.
Of course
I don't think it'll work like that. I don't think Norwich City will make a decision quickly, which is concerning. If we do lose the next 3 games, there's always the question of who do you bring in. What I would say is I do agree with you on the point of injuries. I think he's been desperately unlucky there, but at the same time, it's those 3 things that I've mentioned already: lineups, in-game management. What was the other thing? Forgotten. But anyway, it is concerning, and like look, I really like him. I really want him to be the manager that takes us up through. You know, we've always said it, Wagner at Wembley way. But it's a conversation now that's happening, and I think, you know, it's fair that it's happening.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Those critical of David Wagner, I can't provide a.
You know the thing you said about Adam Eder.
Yes.
I can't defend it.
Yeah.
It's getting to that point with David, because I'm like we're not winning games, and you know, football is a really hard, tough business. You know, it's a shame. It is a shame.
Barney, statement.
Go on.
Eder's had a poor couple of games, definitely, but he's a million times better than anything Hwang offers. Poor pressing, lack of threat, and causes us no outlook going forwards.
Yeah.
Hurricane Hwang.
Well, I've said it. I said it after the game. I said it for the Swansea watch along as well. We are toothless up top. We're toothless up top. All of our goals are coming from midfield. And to be fair, most of our goals were... I mean, Barnsley scored a couple before he got injured. Yeah? Our goals are coming from midfield, which isn't such a bad thing because, to be clear, we were... I think it was just before the Swansea... We won't be now, but I think we were second highest top goal scorer in the division before the Swansea game, that is. Obviously, now the last two we would have dropped off. So I don't think we had a particular issue with scoring goals, but at the same time, when your forwards aren't scoring, you've got issues. The thing with Hwang, which I cannot fathom, is his lack of match fitness.
It doesn't look fit at all.
Why have Norwich signed a player that is not fit?
Well, I think...
I want it to work, but I don't understand it, Jack.
I think, Chris...
Were we really that desperate?
Yeah, I think we were, and I think we were late in the market, and we were essentially at the time asking for someone to come and be our third choice striker. So you're not going to get Messi coming.
And then the injuries come, yeah.
But we signed Hwang a month ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm a fat slob, but you could get me to some degree of fitness in a month.
Okay.
All right? You make me go on some bleep tests. You feed me a bit less. And you tell me to get a grip, right? And I'll start running some 5Ks for you. Hwang he was puffing after 10 minutes.
Do you know what? It's giving me shades of Becchio. Luciano Becchio.
I don't care if he's not scoring goals, as long as he's contributing.
Well, and he did.
I contributed as much to that team as Hwang did at the weekend. And I don't want to be harsh.
No, that is.
No, it's not.
Poor
No, it's not. It's not poor.
No, that is poor. That's a step too
it's
far.
Not
no, it is. That's a step too
no, it's
far.
Not. I would actually go as far as saying I contributed more to Norwich City's performance.
There was a great flick from Hwang that created one of the goals in the last few games.
We've got Becchio syndrome.
No, I know. Look, again, I can't defend it.
Hurricane Hwang will be remembered for his flick against Birmingham.
Sadly, yes. Question.
Wow, this is so
actually a statement. This is interesting from Joe.
Joe
says, we are absolutely crying out for the Scottish Maldini. And he's referencing Grant Hanley. The international break gives Wagner the time to embed some fringe players into his starting 11. For me, the sooner Sainz, Hanley, Nunes and Forshaw get playing time, the better. Joe, I want to disagree with you on Grant Hanley. I think Grant Hanley has such a similar skill set to Duffy. He has such a similar skill set to Gibbo, except from the fact that Gibbo is better at passing, in my humble opinion. I guess you could argue the difference is that Grant Hanley has been the captain. He's the leader that a lot of those boys look to, and at the moment he ain't on the pitch. But Joe, I don't think it's crying out for Grant Hanley. I think we make the same defensive mistakes if he's in there because of the in-game management, because of the lineups, because of the way that we're not killing games of football, because of the way that we invite the opposition on. But what I would agree with you on is this team is crying out for signs. It is crying out for Nunes, something a little bit different.
No, it's definitely not crying out for Nunes.
Well, you don't like Nunes, but for me as well, Forshaw was a huge omission from that Coventry game.
Yes.
Obviously his early mistake for the goal at Swansea, but outside of that was outstanding in my opinion. Mopped everything up, and when you've got former players like Bradley Johnson saying,
I don't even think it was his mistake against Swansea.
Well,
it was
yeah,
a poor,
to be fair,
I would say
it was a dodgy pass.
I would agree on Science. I think Sargent and Barnes you add to that list. I think Forshaw, from what I've seen, has looked good. The thing, look, I've always liked Grant Hanley as a defender. We have to remember he's recovering from an Achilles injury.
Yeah,
he's learning to run again.
So he's not going to be back.
He's not
quickly.
going to be in and be the Grant Hanley of 4 years ago.
Yeah,
remember,
true,
this is a man who has had one of the most serious injuries you can have in football.
It's going to be hard for him, yeah.
I think we've got that thing as well, Chris. We've got Becchio syndrome. We've also got Lafferty syndrome, where we're now coming up with this thing where all of our injured players are our fix, and actually they're not. Yeah. And I think
I agree with you.
We've put a lot of maybe not us so much, but there has been criticism for Duffy and Gibson. Defensive errors are going to happen when you give the opposition as much time and as much opportunity to attack as we do.
And space.
Let's cut out these errors before it gets to Gibson.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that, mate. I agree with that. Lots of questions on David Wagner, which we've covered extensively, I feel, in my opinion, to be fair. John Sherratt's talking about the new sporting director. Can't wait to see what he brings to the table in January. If we can just stay in the mix for top 6 by January, I reckon we have a good shot. But these next 3 months are going to be tough. Strap yourselves in, gents. I agree with John. Strap yourself in. It's going to be a really tough few months now. That's the thing for me, John. Like, we need to stay in and around it before Josh and Barnsley get back to give us a chance of a playoff charge. I don't think it's as drastic as the season's over. No. I think a lot of people have been quite, very harsh after those 2 results. Yes, they're shit. Yes, it's not good enough for Norwich City. It's not season over yet. It is recoverable. As you say, Jack, a big win against Daniel Farke's Leeds would be massive and could start to change the mood again, for sure.
I think
what have you got for me, Jack?
To back it up and to provide a different opinion, Tom says, statement, the downfall isn't Wagner's fault. Lots of key injuries have left him without his preferred squad. Yes, he's made some poor tactical / line-up decisions, but at least give him until some injured players are back before writing him off. I think that the thing with this, I'm certainly not saying sack Wagner. I think he's on his final warning. If we're talking about it from that perspective, the problem is you're never going to have a perfect situation. You're never going to have every player fit.
Okay.
So there will always be an excuse of let's wait till X is back, and then look at Man City at the moment. They're without 5 of their best players. I know they're in poor form, but you're never going to have a fully fit squad. So how long do you leave these?
And there's always an excuse in football.
Exactly.
There is always an excuse.
There is going to come a point where you're going to have to make a really uncomfortable decision. And I think we saw it with Dean Smith. We left that sacking too late.
Okay.
Are we now approaching that with Wagner?
I don't know. I don't want to talk it into existence, which is a shame.
And I think equally, it's really difficult to know where Norwich City are at the moment, because Willis puts rant ? He doesn't know what he wants to say, but I like it. He says, what's gone so badly wrong since Bristol City away, which was at the start of September, where we won 1-0? Yeah. Not having any injuries to Bar Nunes, not having any injuries, I don't know what that bit says.
Okay.
Defensively, we're crap. Yes, we miss big chances too. I genuinely can't believe how off the pace we've been since then.
I've said it before. I say it again. Like, I don't think losing Sergeant Barnes excuses the way that we've set up, excuses the mistakes we've been making. I think fundamentally we've really lacked doing the basics well enough, and that isn't down to Barnes and Sargent not being on the pitch. It's not. And as you say, there's always an excuse, and the players that have come in haven't taken their chance so far. I think sort of linked to that, where's it gone wrong? And there's loads of questions. I think this is quite nicely summarised actually by Josh _JLH98. Hashtag don't buy the sun he's got in his bio. I agree with that. Josh says, when people say we are in a transition period, what are we transitioning to? Is this and the age of the squad a concern? See, this is a really interesting point, Josh. Right? All of these we've spoken about loads in this podcast. Jack. We've spoken about
transitioning for
David.
7 years.
We've spoken about David Wagner. We've spoken about defensive mistakes, toothless up top, lineups. We've spoken about Napa coming in November. We previously on this podcast we've been speaking about the Atanasios increasing their share in the football club, the fan mood. 1 week we think we're going to be in the playoffs, 1 week we're going to get relegated. It's absolutely all over the place, right? And I think that this comes from the top down, right? The ownership at the football club is uncertain. We're starting to define what that might look like now, but even now, there's questions about the Atanasios. Are they going to invest some money in this season because we bloody need some help, or not? What are they doing? Have they done? Will they do? Short, medium, long term? We don't have the answers. The management, the style of football. Stuart Webber is sort of hanging about, and he's now said that he's off in November, but we sort of know that, but we don't. And I think all of those uncertainties create uncertainty further down that chain. Am I going delirious? Let me know if I'm going even more delirious. Am I going mad, Jack?
No, I don't think you are. I think, and I keep coming back to this, and it's frustrating me because I don't know where we're at as a club at the moment. I don't know if should we be competing for the playoffs? Are we a mid-table side? Are we overachieving? I don't know what. I do think we lack identity.
I think. Do you know what I would say, Jack? Is we are where we're meant to be. We are where we're meant to be. We're not killing games. We're making defensive errors. We've had a good start the season. We had a nice little run of games where we've picked up enough points to sort of rest on our laurels a little bit. The fans backed the boys and have now started to, it's started to get a little bit uncomfortable again. We saw some unrest at Coventry. We are where we're meant to be. There's uncertainty at board level. On the pitch it's not working. We've got a couple of big injuries up top. We are where we're meant to be. And actually, arguably, we're doing better than where we're meant to be, considering circumstances.
Paul asks, have you binned the hats off yet?
Yes.
Well, they're there. I certainly don't think they'll be on our heads this season.
They're not going on this season. They're not going on. But I just need to say again, right? People say this to us. They'll say, oh, what about, get your hats out. Or, oh, you boys were getting... Someone tweeted the other week, you're here, you're there, you're everywhere. Well, yeah, because I've got news to you. We're fucking football fans. And football without emotion, and critically, football without hope and belief is pointless. If you don't hope and believe that your team are going to achieve something this season, what's the point? What is the point? There's no point. And so I would just encourage, there's this sort of attitude at the moment of, I can't say something positive, or I can't be too active in supporting a player or praising them just in case it all goes wrong. I fucking hate that culture. Yes, we're in a shit situation right now. It is bad. The form isn't good. The next few games are looking ominous, which we need to talk about. But football without that hope and belief is pointless. We're always going to try to get carried away and support the boys, aren't we, Jack?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's been particularly for the younger fans, and I guess you'd throw myself into it. For the last 12 years, we've either been in promotion hunts, or we've been fighting relegation.
Yeah.
And I think actually the position we're in now, and it's proving difficult to get used to, I think we're a mid-table championship team.
Yeah, I can't disagree.
I think we will be for a few seasons. And maybe it's just us getting used to that. Because we've always been, in the championship the last decade, we've always been up there, we've always been in playoff hunts, we've always been hunting something down.
Yeah.
And this season and last season,
we've been overachieving with the amount of money that we've got, which is absolutely fuck all. Well, sorry, we did have money because we chucked £60 million at it in the Premier League under Daniel Farke. Daniel Farke was adamant that he wanted to sign at least 3 of those players that have pretty much all fallen straight on their arse. So we did give it a go in the Premier League, but we monumentally failed.
Yeah. Maybe we're just getting used to that. There's a few questions, and I want to face up to these questions.
Go on, face up to them.
When are we going to start talking about Ipswich Town?
Well, we'll talk about them right now. Let's do it. It's the first time it's not the first time in my life. It's the second time in my life that I've been, for a number of years, that I've been genuinely worried about this derby. They're much better than us in every department. They've got momentum with them. They remind me of when we had Paul Lambert and we did the double bounce. I'm sure a lot of people will agree with that. And I think that's another reason why Norwich fans are more frustrated, because they can see Ipswich gaining and gaining and gaining on us, right? And that is really hard to take, because they have been, if it's not mid-table mediocrity, they've been rotting in League One for so long now, and to see them up there hurts. And, it's uncomfortable, but there's a lot of jealousy. Of course there is. We don't want to see our rivals up there. But that's the truth. And we need to face up to it. And to be honest with you, I really hope that it's given our board a kick up the arse, because to see them doing what they're doing, it does hurt. But we need to face up to that. And that's a big reason, I think, Jack, why I don't think a lot of Norwich fans want to admit it, but I think it is a reason why the mood's so bad right now.
Absolutely. And I think... I don't think this has come out of the blue. I think you saw Ipswich Town in League One last season. Granted, League One, the numbers they were putting up was astonishing. Lots of very shrewd judges liked them this season. But this has been coming. If you look for the past 3 years, you've seen a lot of influential staff members at Norwich City Club, maybe not directly involved with playing, but within the football club, moving to Ipswich Town.
Yep.
There's a reason for that.
Yep.
Is it culture? Do they see a plan that they like more than Norwich City? So this isn't something that's just come out of the blue. And I think we really need to look at Ipswich Town, and it's difficult. It's so difficult watching them play this glorious football because we've had it in the last. We know what it feels like, and it's so good. It's so good. We need to look at this and learn. Honestly, we go, what are they doing right that we're not doing?
I know.
It's obviously something.
Do you know why I'm laughing? Because it's just it's crazy that it's got to this point, because for over a decade, we've been head and shoulders, and now, obviously, granted, it's only this season, they're head and shoulders. I'm really worried about this derby, Jack. I'm really worried, and actually, but I mean, God knows where we'll be by then. We're looking at these next 3. I mean, we're not even at the derby yet. We look at these next 3 games, and I don't know how we're going to pick up points in these next 3 games. They're a slick, well-oiled machine, and they'll concede a couple here and there, but they'll score 3, right? It's that feeling we had under Paul Lambert, No, I think it's a valid point. We've faced up to it. We're wearing our blue and white tops today, of course, for a good cause. But no, yeah, absolutely. I think it is a contributing factor as to why the fan base is struggling to accept where we are, Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm 25 years old, and I'm yet to see Ipswich Town beat us in person.
See, this is the thing, and like I've seen.
There's plenty of people in the Barclay 5 years younger than me that will have maybe never seen Ipswich beat them in ever.
I know, and I am going to be a little bit ageist here, so forgive me. I've seen a few things on social media already where I've seen people post stuff like, and you did it, and it annoyed me. You sort of actively praising them, and it's like, mate, you haven't felt what it's like to lose to those sods. You haven't felt what it's like,
Yeah, fair enough.
And it's horrible. It is horrible. And do you know what? I enjoyed every second of being on top, because of what they did when they beat us all those years ago, right? It's nasty, right? And so, and I think that's another reason why people need to understand if it happens, it's going to be really bad.
I think it's a mix of needing to look at them and learn, and also just sucking up the pain of it.
Yeah. Don't forget.
Equally, come December 16th we play them?
Yeah.
We might beat them.
A lot can change.
Right.
It's been a while since we read out a positive post. So we've got this one from Simo NCFC. Let's go to his bio quickly. Oh, no bio, but he follows TNC. Top boy. He says, positive. Big C will end up a grand up come the end of the season, of course. Your bet for the Johnny Rowe bet.
Yeah.
He's going to get in there, isn't he? You're going to be a grand down.
Well, you say that, Chris. Look, my opinion on Rowe couldn't have been further wrong. I didn't know if he was first team ready.
You? Wrong? Never.
And he's been brilliant. He's been the one real positive of this season. But there was granted it's who scored, and I said it needs to be the official. If he's in the official championship team of the season, I'll give a grand to Big C.
Yes, you did.
So far this season, he's not in the championship team of the season. That's based on who scored rating. So it's a little bit wishy-washy. But if Big C want that grand, Rowe's going to have to continue to pick up his performances. I
think he will. And just quickly to Billy, we also need to talk about this Leeds game upcoming, Jack, before we finish. Billy says, I would like to resubmit the attached statement. So I'm sorry that we didn't read out your statement in the last podcast. He's a statement, Adam Eder is not a championship striker yet. Get him alone with a lower league club. Pains me to say it, but I want him to do well. But currently, he is the last player I want on the ball in any position. Oof. And he also says, how was the 30th birthday hangover, Chris? It took me a couple of days. I'm getting old now.
Is it true?
I have 2-day hangovers now.
Is it true that the older you get, the harder the hangover
Yes,
hit?
it is, absolutely. Yeah, look, as we've summarised on Adam Eder in this podcast, I think today, we can't defend the criticism anymore.
I think that's where it at.
Sadly.
I think he did need a loan move. I think if we're being honest, he probably is at the moment a League One player. I still think there's a player in there. I do. I'm struggling.
Let's talk about Leeds at home, Jack, because we're not going to do a podcast before then, so enjoy this one. It's the return of Daniel Farke. How do you feel about that?
I'm really concerned. I think that the only hope is we've got an international break now in between, which hopefully, like, signs might be back. There's a couple of players that might be fit for going into that. Mm-hmm. Thank God we didn't play against Leeds like we did against Coventry. I think we will have learned lessons from that. I think our home form hasn't been too bad.
Mm-hmm. It's been all right, yeah.
But Chris, I'm just look. My glass is half empty today, and I think people will see that. I'm just thinking, if Norwich concede early, I think it turns real quick.
Yeah.
And I think we're in that position, and that's not been a worry of mine so far this season, because I think on the whole the fans have been absolutely brilliant.
But at Coventry, you said you saw the crowd turn, and when does that seep into the home? Look, my rally cry is like I hope that we give it full gusto in the stands. I really hope that the Norwich City fans support David Wagner and his Norwich City players. Of course, if we put in a shit performance and we start conceding silly goals and it's an embarrassment, it's fine. It's down to your own personal opinion of what you want to do. But I hope that we can make some noise. I really sincerely hope, after the match, if you want to appreciate Daniel Farke for what he did on the pitch for the football club, fair play, give him a clap if you want. But I ain't going to be clapping Daniel Farke before the match, particularly with the nuisance that he caused in the summer window that I've been told behind the scenes. I completely disagree with the way that he operates on many levels. And I sincerely hope that we beat him. However, I think he will do a job on us. And it pains me to say that. I think he'll be extremely motivated. He would have done his research. And to be honest with you, Jack, quality-wise, Leeds going forwards compared to us is ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think
it's absolutely ridiculous.
We do have to manage expectation here. Leeds were in the Premier League last season.
Yeah.
They spent tons of cash in the Premier League.
Tons
of cash. So that they do have a better squad. And you hope so, based on the amount of money they've spent.
Yeah.
I think Leeds will beat us. I just hope that the performance is one that we can be proud of.
Yeah, because if not, I think it could be the turn of the home crowd.
There we go.
I can't believe how quick. It saddens me. It feels like the season is evaporating just like that, Jack. Like it's so frustrating.
We equally, seasons can turn really quickly.
Yeah, that's true.
For good and for bad.
That is true.
I've got a feeling now where we're seeing trends and patterns repeat.
We hope we're wrong.
We normally are.
Jack, it's been a good podcast. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks to everyone for watching. Remember, look, Norfolk and Waverley Mine have been partners with us for a long while. The message has always been there, but we will remind you on it. They are there to help you. If you need help with your head, reach out. They'll be more than happy to help. And it's certainly not embarrassing to do so.
Let's hope the next time we talk, we would have won against Leeds. But the reality is, we won't. But let's suffer together, eh?
Absolutely. Thanks for watching. See you later, everyone. Bye-bye.